Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
I was sitting there thinking, oh, I'm nervous this morning. Sometimes when you just before you get up here, you feel a little nervousness. And Spirit says, does a frog in his lily bag croaking to his others of like self? Is he nervous, croaking, enjoying the nature? And I'm like, no, it made me laugh, So I was like, yeah, I can get up there and croak a little bit to my other froglings. This is the time of year that we begin to honor the memory of Jesus. Those of us who are Christian or have been raised in Christian environments as children. The time that we honor his personal sacrifice of the crucifixion and but the more important piece is of his atonement. And I have some really interesting ideas that are coming up about that, which it has absolutely knocked me off my feet. So I guess since I led you into that, I'll tell you about it a little bit. But it occurs to me that because Jesus was so in touch with his divinity, that he absolutely knew who he was, and he was not of this world. He was able to be what we are becoming. He was awakened to his divinity, that he could see through the world of form to such a degree that he did not sacrifice, he did not experience the pain that we projected onto that situation when it occurred. His message was his atonement, that there is no death, that we are immortal. And that is what I want to talk about today, is our divinity. Because one of the things that has been coming in for me, because I've been studying the Course in Miracles since the beginning of the year, and I've been studying Eckhart Tolle quite extensively in the last few months. This is the time of the Great Awakening, which means that once upon a time, human beings were like the animals and the trees. They were being, but they weren't thinking yet. Then they evolved, or we evolved, into a place where language came in, and thought, being a piece of language, developed. But as time has gone on, we have become more and more identified with the I, or the ego, or the things that appear in this world of form, and we have forgotten, or it's slipped our mind, if you will. We've gotten lost in and forgetting who we are, because we are basically spirit to begin with. Absolutely. And I'm bouncing all over the place, but I'm going to stick with my notes because I'll come up with that a little bit later. But while Jesus was on the cross, he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." The thing is that for this month, our topic is forgiveness, and we need to forgive ourselves because we don't know what we're doing either. We have, and many people are still very unconscious, lost in thought, lost in ego. And basically what that means is that ego is a clump of thoughts from the past, or it can take you into the future, but it lives on either side of the now in form. And so for us to move past that, to awaken, we need to awaken in the now. And I'm going to share a little bit about that. I'm also developing a class on some stillness exercises to help us pull ourselves back when our ego starts driving us crazy, to be back in the now and really feel the peace that's always with us as divine beings. God is love and sees us as the blameless, innocent, blessed sons of God. We are the blessed sons and daughters of God. So, but the thing is that in our belief system, this came in this last week, it says change your thinking and your life will change accordingly. But you see, the thinking is the problem. So what we have to do is get to a place to where we can move into stillness where there is no thought. We become aware of the divinity and the stillness that is everywhere around us. Eckhart talks about and we are in a perfect place to do that. You go out into nature and you see the divinity, or you see the stillness of a tree. Or in my Abraham class, and the ladies who are here that joined me in that class, I decided to try an experiment on them. And I brought them a group of pansies, and I said, here, each one of you take a pansy and just be with it for 10 minutes and just keep thought out, but really be present with this life form that we're sharing life with. So I watched, as I'm doing work with my pansy, and I'm thinking, my ego saying, can we be done yet? I'm bored with this exercise. And I'm like, no, you can't be. We're not done yet. We're going to do the 10 minutes. And this is in reference to Buddha's flower sermon that he gave many, many years ago. It fascinated me, and I thought, okay, what's in the flower? I want to see what this does. And so each one of us were sitting there exercising or practicing the stillness with the flower, and I became aware of the immense life force that is busy in this tiny little flower. It's busy making leaves and chlorophyll and fragrance and blooms and all this stuff, activity. This creative force is going on in this very still little being. And so I look outside now when I'm in my house, and I look at the trees without identifying that the bark is brown, or it's a willow, or it's poison oak, or whatever it is in terms of what my ego is identifying as form. I just feel this vast stillness. But it is my divinity that is experiencing this vast stillness. And in that stillness, ego subsides. And it doesn't tell me that I'm, well, how are you going to pay your taxes? What are you going to do about your business? How are you going to lose weight? Whatever the issue is. Or look at what so-and-so did to you once upon a time and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, let's pull back. Let's look into the stillness that's everywhere around us. And I haven't done this yet with people. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all of your faces, and I can feel the spiritual stillness that exists, even though all of you are busy out there thinking. Maybe some of you have got your ego, spinning over here. What are we going to do after? What am I going to have for dinner tomorrow? What am I going to buy so-and-so for their birthday next week? Or whatever it is. But we have this permeating peace that's everywhere present, right here, right now. This morning, my lesson in the Course in Miracles is, I am a light of the world, meaning we, because really, there is nothing but God, or source, or being, if you will, or life, actually. And so I see myself, which is an ego statement, but to try to get it into world of form kind of terminology, that in Spirit showed me the other day that I'm like one of those little pointer dogs. They get stiff and their tail goes out, and I always wanted to be a way shower. I always wanted to be one of the lamp carriers that held up the lamp and said, this way. And so it brings me such great joy to think that I'm stepping into the awakening, that we are moving beyond language and thought into a new type of human being, which is we're coming back into being beyond thought. And Eckhart says that the thing it just knocked me out today, I hadn't heard it. You listen to these tapes over and over and you always hear something you didn't hear before. And he says, nature has been waiting for us to awaken, because as we become aware of its beauty, it becomes aware of its own beauty. So it is consciously moving and evolving too. We are life. That's what we are. And as we evolve, life evolves everywhere, throughout the universe, I'm sure. So, hold on. Get back on my track here. See, Einstein said that you cannot solve a problem by the same consciousness that created the problem in the first place. And this world, the world of form, is so convincing. It appears that this stuff is so convincing. But the thing is if you can stop and create space by simply becoming aware of your breathing, or you stop and you really do look at the flower and become conscious of its life and feel its stillness, you can hear the noisy ego that's going over here on the television or whatever, and how we're going to blow up the planet any minute we're going to die, there's going to be this and that, and it's like, no, this is life right here. The thing is, Eckhart says, is that it's a paradox. It seems things seem to be getting better and worse all at the same time. The reason that the negative sounds so much more horrible is because it's louder than stillness. I don't know how much more quiet you can get when you are still. So stop listening to the news. The thing is that if you really paid attention to the news, how many new things do you really hear on the news? 4 or 5? And look at what our ego does with that crap. You know, it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the planet. It's like, no. Now, which is all we have, which is infinity, everything